Jayson Stark, one of the best in the business, of course, MLB senior writer for The Athletic, hanging out with us. My old pal, haven't talked to him in a long time. Good to see you, Jayson.
You too, Mike. How are you, man?
I am good. Can we start with the Yankees, please? Because they won last night. They got into the ALCS. They knocked off the Kansas City Royals in 4 games this series. Gerrit Cole, the reason why they brought him to this team was to be an ace. Of course, he won the Cy Young last year, started the season off a little injured. But last night proves the reason why they want him on their team, being the ace in these critical situations to lock it down. 7 strong innings last night. What did you see out of him?
Yeah, Gerrit Cole's one of the last of the old school aces, Mike. You know what I mean? He lives for these moments, and it's one of the things that makes him special. It's why the paychecks come at the size they come every 2 weeks. You know, he's got 150 career wins. There's no current healthy pitcher under 30 who's even got 60. That tells you why, you know, he's a little different than everybody else out there. And I had no doubt that he would show up in a game like that. And you just see it on his face, don't you? You are not beating me tonight. And he just has that aura, and he delivers.
He delivers. He was critical last night. Once again, 7 strong innings, got the job done, survived a little bit of a scare in the 7th inning there that could have tied the game. The bullpen, masterful this postseason, 14 2/3 scoreless innings there. They've been outstanding. Giancarlo Stanton was outstanding in this series. Gleyber Torres getting on base. But, you know, as Yankee fans, we're never satisfied. We got a guy on our team who's going to be maybe the unanimous MVP. And Aaron Judge, phenomenal guy. I love him to death. Don't get me wrong. Regular season matters. But in the postseason, you know as well as I do, as a Yankee fan, if you don't show up in the postseason, no matter what you did in the regular season, people are going to start hating on you. Now, is it fair? Because we did the same thing with Barry Bonds. We did the same thing with Alex Rodriguez early on when they weren't showing up in the postseason despite their success in the regular season. Is it fair to be critical of Aaron Judge if he doesn't come through in the postseason, especially in the ALCS?
Come on, man. You know, at some point, Aaron Judge is going to have a Mr. October moment. It's one of the crazy aspects to baseball is, right, David Fry can be Mr. October.
Yeah.
And Aaron Judge takes all the heat. Kyle Schwarber actually made this point the other night. I was at the Mets-Phillies that, you know, if you look at an NBA game, Steph Curry has the ball 100 times a night. And Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, the stars of our sport, what do they get? 8 swings a night? And so I think one of the things we do best is overreact to a given night or a given week in October. I do think he's been better the last 2 games. You're really not seeing him chasing. He hit a couple of balls in Kansas City that were 114, 115 miles an hour. You can see it's in there, but like if your question is it fair to demand that Aaron Judge eventually do that thing that they're paying him to do in these games? I think that is fair. The Yankees are going to win the World Series. I don't think Aaron Judge hitting 154 in every round is going to fly.
No. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, it's not going to fly. Not in New York City. In any other city, that he would probably be able to get away with it. But once again, like you said, we criticize Barry Bonds for this. Even in the NFL, they used to criticize Peyton Manning because, hey, you can win all the MVPs you want to, but if you don't show up in the postseason against the New England Patriots when it matters the most and not get your team to the Super Bowl, you're going to be criticized. I think Aaron Judge is a great guy, a wonderful guy, a media-friendly guy, and people love him. But once again, if you don't show up when it really matters the most, I think it's fair that you can put the onus on him for his team not getting to the World. Look, once again, it's been 15 years since the Yankees got to the World Series. He's gone to the ALCS 4 times. Since 2021, he hasn't done jack for the New York Yankees in the postseason. And once again, you talk about David Fry having a Mr. October moment. Aaron Judge has not had a Mr. October moment, period, in a Yankee uniform.
Okay, that's true, but could I remind you something? They just won that series. If I had said to you a week ago, if Aaron Judge is going to hit 154 in the division series and drive in no runs, would you have told me you think the Yankees are playing right now?
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
Giancarlo Stanton is carrying this team right now. Gleyber Torres is carrying this team. And also, I need people like Jazz Chisholm to shut up when it comes to, talking smack. Don't talk smack and say people are lucky and you don't come through yourself. So I'm going to spread the criticism around. This is just me being a Yankees fan. So forgive me. Let me go back to being a professional here, Jayson Stark, and talk about it.
I know. Can I just say something, though? I don't want to zip past what their bullpen has done.
Yes.
Before we really mention that, because a couple weeks ago, I was sitting around a ballpark talking to some scouts who were advancing for their teams ahead of the postseason. And we started talking about the Yankees. And here's the question that came up. After Luke Weaver, who's their second most reliable reliever? And we had a hard time agreeing on one. Okay, it seemed like an excellent question to ask.
Canley.
And then that bullpen goes out and gives up no earned runs in the whole series.
Yeah.
And they did that at a time when it feels like everywhere else, the best relievers on earth have been giving it up in a bunch of crushing defeats. Think about it. Emmanuel Clase and Cade Smith in Cleveland and Josh Hader in Houston and Devin Williams in Milwaukee. And Jeff Hoffman had a fantastic year for the Phillies. And while all that's going on, the Yankees bullpen turns unhittable. Just a reminder that baseball this time of year is just amazing.
And Clay Holmes has been stepping up in this role, his new role with the Yankees as well. So shout out to all of them and Canley and all those guys with the Yankees right now. Let's move on to the Guardians series with the Tigers. Once again, David Fry has his Mr. October moment, saving their season last night. But now they got to face Skubal in Game 5. If you're a Detroit Tigers fan, how are you liking these odds, even on the road?
Yeah, it's really hard to bet against Tarik Skubal in Game 5. He hasn't given up a run in the whole postseason. Hitters are hitting 159 against him, and I'll be honest, when I looked it up, I was surprised it was that high. The last time he gave up a run was September 18th, and the last time he gave up more than one run was more than 5 weeks ago.
Wow.
Guardians haven't beaten him since 2021. So he looks like Justin Verlander 2.0.
Wow.
And I know the Guardians have home field for this game, and I know that's worth something, but doesn't the Skubal advantage top any other advantage right now?
Yep. Yeah, well, you just hope that your starting pitching just kind of matches him and you get him late in the innings and you can get to that bullpen. Like you said, the bullpens have been kind of shaky for everybody else except the Yankees so far this postseason. I got to get to the Dodgers and the Padres series, a critical Game 5 tonight, and critical more so for the L.A. Dodgers. I'm out here in Los Angeles. I know Dodgers fans are always panicking. They're like, not another year where we have a great regular season and once again postseason. So it's not just Yankee fans, it's also Dodger fans out here too. How critical is tonight's game for the Dodgers? I know they used, 8 or 9 pitchers in Game 4 to get them there. They got Yamamoto on the mound tonight. How critical is tonight's do-or-die Game 5 for the Dodgers, not only for advancing or ending their season, but I'm talking about for the future of this team?
They're another team. It's World Series or bust, and the bust always has repercussions. I do want to say I can't wait for this game tonight. This series has been so good. Yeah. We have star power and bad blood, and just a million twists and turns. Each team's won in the other park. It's just been so good, and I think pretty sure tonight I'll have a big rating in Tokyo. You Darvish versus Ohtani and Yamamoto. I mean, bring that on.
Yeah.
Look, what happens if they lose? Is that kind of what you're asking me?
Yes.
It always feels like Dave Roberts' job is hanging in the balance. Every time they don't get to the World Series, they don't win the World Series. I just have to ask you, though, Could Tommy Lasorda have won with his pitching staff?
No.
You know, that's the thing to remember. Here's a story. The Ohtani game in Miami a couple of weeks ago. Okay, they scored 20 runs in that game, and the next day I was talking to an executive from another contender, and he said to me, "The Dodgers just scored 20 runs. I watched that happen, and all I could think about was, okay, but who's pitching tomorrow?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Their road to 27 outs is so hard. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But it doesn't feel like this is a manager thing. It feels to me like it's about roster construction and trying to figure out why all their pitchers keep getting hurt more than it is about the manager. But it's LA. Anything is possible.
Yeah, so Freeman constructed his team. You bring in a pitcher in Yamamoto, you give him $300 million, whatnot. He's injury played this year. Glasnow, who's always been injury played, you give him a ton of money, and he can't even finish the season. So who's your starting pitcher tonight? You got Yamamoto. And once again, they had a bullpen game to save their season in Game 4, so it can't just be on the manager, Dave Roberts, once again, who is a pretty solid manager if you don't have the tools out there that are necessary, man. So we'll see. And then once again, they got to deal with Freddie Freeman. He's got an injury. See if he's able to play. The good news for the Dodgers, though, is that Mookie Betts seems like he's kind of getting out of his slump, especially over the last 2 games. So it should be a really good game against the Padres, a really solid, swaggerlicious team, man. And Fernando Tatis has been so good, Jayson.
Yeah, there's a guy who loves the stage, right? There's a funny dynamic to this series. The Dodgers are the behemoth, theoretically. They spent $1 billion on free agents over the winter. They're the number 1 seed. They won more games than anybody in the sport. And yet, I haven't talked to anybody in baseball this week who doesn't feel like the Padres have the better team and the better roster right now. They won the season series and played great in Dodger Stadium, and now you've got a winner-take-all game in Dodger Stadium. And have they shown any fear of the moment?
None.
I know they didn't win the other night, but like if you're asking me to pick somebody, I would make the pick that it feels like everybody in baseball would make. The Padres are the team right now. They're the team nobody wants to play, and I think that includes the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, I think they're walking in with more swagger, more confidence, and it starts with Manny Machado. I mean, I love his swagger, his confidence, and once again, Tatis is doing his thing. They got the Rookie of the Year possibly in the NL, and even though they're on the road, I'm giving the Padres the favorite to win and move on to the NLCS, where they could be facing the Mets. I know you just covered the Mets in the Philadelphia Phillies series. How amazing, I mean, I know it's amazing Mets, but how amazing is this season? And I was just talking to you before we started the segment. This team sort of reminds me, without the payroll, obviously, 2003 of what the Marlins did that year when they made that run to win it all.
Yeah, it's almost hilarious to think of the Mets as underdogs. They'd be the first $346 million underdogs in history, but they do have that vibe to them. And the Marlins payroll in 2003, the team that upended the Yankees, it was slightly less than $346 million, slightly. But I was around both of these teams through this run, and there is a common theme, and we do see it this time of year. No matter what happens, no matter what the score is, no matter how late in the game it is, no matter what pitcher's coming in the game, they just think they're going to find a way. And it's been just an amazing ride. Because it's not just how the Mets have won. It's not just that the Mets have won, it's the way they've won. They've had one win in this whole postseason where they haven't had to come from behind. Every other game, and even if you go back to the classic regular season clincher in Atlanta, has involved some kind of late inning comeback, a historic comeback against some reliever who never ever gives up a run or a hit against anyone else. they're just on one of these magic carpet rides, and I think it makes them really dangerous no matter who they play.
I mean, how good would it be? You're talking about the swagger and the confidence that teams are playing with right now. The Padres and the Mets in the NLCS. Nobody really saw that coming at the beginning of the season, right? So, I mean, I know the
Padres aren't there yet, but yeah.
I mean, if the Padres get there, obviously,
they've
Dodgers fans,
been these have been the two best teams in the league in the second half, though.
Yeah,
and the second half in baseball is the equivalent of a whole NBA season.
That's true.
So it's not a small sample. We probably shouldn't be surprised, but you're right. Nobody would have seen this coming when spring training started, because both of these teams in the winter were dumping stars.
Yeah.
Soto, Verlander, Scherzer, all gone.
Yeah.
And this was not supposed to be the year. And yet they really have looked like the two best teams on that side of the draw.
Regardless who the Mets play in the NLCS, it should be a lot of fun, whether it's the Dodgers or the Padres. And the ALCS is going to be a lot of fun as well. See who the Yankees get to face, either the Detroit Tigers or the Cleveland Guardians. Always a pleasure to talk to my man, Jayson Stark. I miss you, kid. You're looking good, man. You're looking preserved, bro. They say black don't crack, but you looking great, my brother. Keep doing your thing, whatever you're doing. Happiness and hydration. I tell people, happiness and hydration. That really matters. Right. And I told you something else off the air. So continue to do that as well.
You too, man. I'm living the dream just like you. Always great to talk to you.
All right. Jayson Stark hanging out with us here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.